Welcome to the Lovecars On the Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiffany Dell, and Paul Woodman.
Welcome to episode 10 of Lovecars On the Grid, where this week we go from Monaco to Mallory Park, plus much, much more. Tiff, what have you got to say about this weekend?
We're not talking about Mallory Park first. I know you just want to talk about Mallory Park. We have to move on to really the more important event of the weekend, which was the Monaco Grand Prix, which of course was a sad bore fest for everyone that sat through it. But that's Monte Carlo every year, and it happens. And Max Verstappen now leads the championship by 4 points. So all good to Max. Disaster for Lewis. Couldn't get the Mercedes working at all around there. It's funny. It's all due to this. The whole season is going to be this: which track suits the low rake, long wheelbase Merc, and which track suits the shorter, tilted system for the high rake of Red Bulls, because of course it's all about getting your tyres warm. And on the low grip streets, the Mercedes couldn't get the temperature up. And that worked in Spain, it worked to his advantage because Verstappen wears his tyres out more, whereas the low rake lets the tyres last longer because it doesn't overheat them. And that's what Lewis was fighting all weekend, because he couldn't really get the tyres to work with the concept of their car.
It is funny, but it's funny that you say disaster for Max. By the way, a very good journalist, automotive journalist friend of mine once said, it's not a disaster in motor racing if something bad happens. A disaster is an earthquake or a volcano that destroys.
That was me, wasn't it?
It was you.
That was me that told you that.
Yeah. So it was very, it was a disaster for Charles Leclerc in your world.
Yeah.
But, what a poor, I think the whole of the world, automotive world, not just Monaco, felt terrible for Charles. Must be terrible. You set the fastest lap in your hometown, home city, home country, and you can't even start the race. Not even from the back, which was a bad decision, I guess, from Ferrari. But we've all got a PhD in hindsight.
I think there'll be a big inquiry at Ferrari, because if it was the left-hand side drive shaft that failed, and everybody knows that the impact goes through to the other side. I mean, it's sort of common sense. And if they actually didn't replace that part, someone's going to be in trouble at Ferrari, I think. Because it wasn't the side he hit, it was the other side that broke.
But let's talk about quali for a second, because they're talking now about changing the rules, and they're saying, "Oh, Charles may be penalised for ruining the rate, for ruining the pole position times, or the potential pole position times for the others." But he didn't mean to crash. I mean, if you do what Rosberg did a few years ago and you go on in the hairpin, maybe that's sort of, that's a bit debatable. But
it was Shuey, wasn't it? Schumacher
famously, yeah.
And Bottas was the one that went down this. Oh no, Rosberg. Yeah, Rosberg went down the escape road, Mirabeau. So now you've got to leave it as it is. You can't muck about with his. You can certainly punish drivers if there's obvious evidence that they, as they did with Schumacher when he obviously just blocked the road. It made such an embarrassing effort of it. But no, certainly Charles didn't mean to clip that barrier and go head on into the wall. That's for sure. So, but no, it's the great thing is, if Leclerc had got into the lead, I think he would have held up a train of cars, because Max would have been all over him for the laps. But instead, they all spread up out and went round and round. The only real excitement was when Vettel, overcut both Gasly and Hamilton. Lewis was going great.
He was spitting feathers.
But the director went away from the shot, didn't he? As Vettel came out to see if he could do the overcut. And it was only later we saw the onboard shots of him side by side with Gasly go up the hill to Casino Square, and a bit of bravery going on there. Sebastian Vettel,
the director, was
the star of the day.
He did well. I was pleased for Aston Martin. I think the director at that time was on a good Bordeaux or something, because how can you miss one of the most crucial parts of the whole race? And Monaco, I got to say, I love Monaco, but it is for the spectators. It is for the experience. It is not. It's a spectator when you're there. It's not a spectator sport on TV. It's a boring race. Whoever's in
but then so's Barcelona. You can't overtake in great open track like Barca. Just certain circuits, need either certain corners redesigned, which I think you could do at sort of the big circuits. You can't do that at Monaco. So what you could do is drive over the top of the swimming pool. The old Grand Prix, where famously Jack Brabham crashed on the last corner at the hairpin, had the great big long run down to the hairpin before they came back up, and there was no squiggling past the swimming pool because it wasn't there. So it actually used to be quite a decent straight into a tight hairpin, but I don't think you can rebuild that now.
No,
Unfortunately.
they're on about making it a little bit faster, but we have to, of course, mention Lando, the boy wonder.
Yes,
God,
another wonder.
Ricardo, isn't
well,
it?
and Perez, who should have been there. Perez still the big question mark of this poor old, Red Bull number 2. So all he's doing is the same as Gasly and Albon did. He's qualifying badly and then making the places up. But he overcut all 3 of them, didn't he? Because he was behind Vettel and he jumped Vettel, Hamilton, and Gasly because he had such a quick car in the race and he was closing on Lando hand over fist at the end. But I don't think Lando would have got to let him by. But what is Perez? He actually topped P1 Perez the very first session. From then on, he was always half a second down on Max. And this is what Red Bull sacked Gasly and sacked Albon for, because they want someone finishing second behind Max when they have the car to do so. And he really should have been on the podium instead of Lando, maybe even Carlos. But big question mark still there, I think, with Perez.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of pit stops, we'll mention Valtteri in a minute, but the fastest pit stop was Red Bull again, just over 2 seconds, 2.02.
Well done, Paul. I'm glad you're always there with my pit stop statistician.
Fastest lap.
How long was Bottas' stop then, please, tactician? Could you tell me how long it was?
Well, I can. It's very easy because he didn't even come out again. God, what a mess up. And Mercedes... Tactically, they didn't get that right. I mean, that was just one of those things. I guess it happens occasionally.
Well, and he was such a good weekend. He was acing, Hamilton, so he was having a really good weekend in a difficult car. It was probably one of Valtteri's better drives, and ends up with the wheel.
But Tiff, was that a good drive from him, or was it just an awful weekend for Lewis? Because Lewis was never ever on the pace. He started 7th.
Well, Valtteri made the best of a Mercedes. Yeah. Valtteri made the best of the Mercedes that weekend. Whereas Lewis didn't. It was not good at all.
But you say
Formula 2, of course, they had as well. Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, finally on that, I was just going to say, but Lewis came in and did the old tactical 1 extra point for the fastest lap. So he obviously can maneuver it around there when he needs to, but he wasn't on it this weekend. And you're right, no. F2 in Monaco as well. That's exciting. They sound flipping good around those streets, don't they?
Yeah, but I can't talk too much because they ruined my Formula 2 with these double reverse grid races on Thursday and Friday. And around Monaco, to put the 10th best qualifier was on pole for the first race and won easily, Zhao, and there's all Monaco winner, chicken dinner, he's gifted it for being the 10th best driver. And that, Formula 2 is so important for these young drivers. They're trying to get super license points. They're trying to prove their skill to the team managers and, to be in the frame. And when the guy that's on pole sees Zhao, on the podium, getting all the press and champagne, I'm sorry, but Formula 2 needs to be meritorious. It's not a BTC showboating formula where you penalise people when they're quick and put them on the back of the grid. It's so critical for these drivers to show who is the best driver over the year and winning the most races. And not turning them upside down, though.
I'm with you with F2, and we both played a little bit of golf badly, I hasten to add. But as they say in golf, there's no pitches on the scorecard. So in a year's time, when you're looking to put people into F1, they don't say, "Oh yeah, but he won that from the." They just say he's got the most points. He won F2. So it's. And
there was some good news for Britain because Dan Tictum won the second sprint race. So although he inherited that when the winner got disqualified, so at least Dan Tictum won. Dan Tictum should have finished 3rd in the main race, the feature race, but unfortunately made a bit of a bold overtaking move. He's still 4th in the points, but I mean, the real story, when we get past 2 bash crash sprint races, is, 17-year-old French sensation Théo Pourchaire, who, he qualified on pole and led a very boring feature race from start to finish. And he was the standout, massive talent. I didn't even know where he finished in the sprint race. I think he finished like 8th and 6th or something, having been put upside down. But we should all just remember Théo Pourchaire, winner of the feature race, the Formula 2, 17 years old. I think we'll hear a lot more from him.
Yeah, I think so as well. Formula 1 star of the future, no doubt.
Moving on. World Rally.
Well, that's good news. WRC, very good news. Well, for if you're a Brit. It's exceptionally good news because
It was, well, it was a funny, yes, because, Elfyn Evans won. And after
which we're
two
delighted
rallies,
about,
the end of last year, he was picked to the post by his teammate, Sebastian Vettel. He got his Toyota Yaris home first. But it was a bit of a dull rally. It's still slightly frustrating rallying because it's the most spectacular, skillful sport when you see one car going through these twists and turns. But the Hyundai challenge petered out when both Tanak and Neuville, trying too hard, took a wheel off. So we lost the two leading Hyundais. Sebastian Ogier, because he's championship leader, it's a bit like Formula E, where the champions, the top 6 in the championship, have to go in the first qualifying session, when often in Formula E, the track's still dirty, the streets are sandy, so they can't qualify very well. Well, now in rallying, you have this reverse order. Who leads the field out on day one has to be the championship leader. So Ogier's dusting the road, and when it's on the loose stages like Portugal, he's just so slow for the first day that he knows he's not got a chance of winning the Portugal rally. So it's a slightly frustrating world rally. Not that many top people running. There's only really the 3 Hyundais versus the 3 Toyotas, as the 2 Fords aren't really on the pace. So although Elfyn won, it was brilliant. It wasn't a very exciting rally overall. Danny Sordo, the Hyundai survivor, finished second. He's more of a tarmac specialist, although Portugal's almost his home country. Ogier got back to finish third, because virtually everybody else dropped back. And it was quite good for the Fords, because they picked up... No, it wasn't the Fords' fourth, because, of course, the Japanese Tanaki... Where's his name? I've got it. Takamoto Katsuda. Takamoto. And his best result in bringing the third Toyota home in fourth overall. And the 2 Fords are 5th and 6th, which is a great run. Gus Greensmith, our British entrant, he was 5th, 10 seconds ahead of his French teammate, Adrien Fourmeau. But it just wasn't much toing and froing in the timesheets.
Do you know what? I don't think Elfyn will care less about that. Congratulations to him, because he's been so close so many times.
And he's now up to second in the points behind Sebastian Ogier. So I agree. Even if it wasn't the most frenzied rally, it's the great thing that Elfyn won it and deserved that win, and is now second in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are we going next? You want to go to
Superbikes? World Super. Yes, that's some more Superbike. Bikes are still so popular on the telly, and we see on the internet everybody loves them. But in MotoGP, of course, we've got nobody to cheer on. We've got Sam Lowe's, battling out in Moto2, but we've got no one in the top series, and we haven't had for ages. And yet Superbikes, Britain dominates the flash.
We've done so well there.
Jonathan Ray, the Northern Ireland hero, he's won the last 6 championships on the trot. And in the first race down in Spain, the last weekend at Aragon, Motorland Aragon, he won his 100th Superbike race.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Race 2 was won by Scott Redding on his Ducati. Of course, Ray was on his Kawasaki. And in race 2, the first 4 places were all Brits. Alex Lowe's on his Kawasaki was third, Tom Sykes on the BMW fourth. So it's weird how we seem to have Superbike. I don't know.
Is that series suited to us so well? Is there any reason?
I think we're chunkier Brits. I think there is a size thing, because Scott Redding had a couple of years on Ducati in MotoGP, but he couldn't quite, get on the pace. And the Superbike's the bigger body, the bigger build, because there is that straight line problem. Whereas you look at MotoGP, there's a lot of these little Italians and Spanish kids. And it is a lot harder, I think, on MotoGP for a big rider to get. I might be totally. Please, comments, motorbike fans. Can we have some comments on this on our YouTube channel, Lovecars On the Grid? If you're listening on the podcast, pop over to the podcast. What's it on?
On YouTube.
Tell me, Spotify's and things. And tell me if it's this rider size that helps Superbikes, or just tell me why Britain's so good at Superbikes.
Can I just qualify?
Not MotoGP.
Can I just qualify? My esteemed colleague doesn't mean wider as in chunky. He just means bigger, taller, all round bigger bones. So I'm assuming that's.
It's like when you race a Caterham, the bigger guys struggling with the little small blokes seem to be able to go quite quickly. Yeah, I won't comment on that anymore.
Is that an appropriate time to tell you about my weekend at Mallory Park?
Come on. All right. Mallory Park.
Well, I was
We
leading.
were going to mention it earlier. We should have gone straight from Monaco to Paris. I jumped you ahead and I cheated you out of your moment of glory because I was thinking of the world. But no, we do have to leave the world behind and come to Mallory Park, a little tiny track near Leicester. And the opening race of this year's Caterham Academy. And our entry, we have a presenter who was about to become a racing driver. Paul, you were a star. Well, you upheld Lovecars magnificently, even though you got a bit carried away on the second lap of the race. You led for at least, about half a second and 50 yards. You were definitely in the lead. But I mean, from fourth on the grid was good. You got to second off the line. Beautiful start, clean, tidy. And then you lost your trolley completely going up to the hairpin on the second lap. You can see the lead. You can see glory coming. Instead, all you saw was the grass. But the most amazing recovery. You can tell me your story, but I have to be the way you recovered from going straight onto the hairpin. But of course, in my day, there was a big concrete wall, and you would have had half a car left. But on a small little patch of grass, you did an amazing U-turn and rejoined the pack in about 15th or 16th, and came back to a very more overtaking than in Monaco, just from Paul Woodman at Mallory Park when you got from 16th back to 6th. How did it feel then, the whole race for you, your first motor race?
Honestly, it was just incredible. The respect I have for professionals and amateurs alike all over the world that do this, a massive respect. You know, the guys at Caterham who are brilliant, you feel like you've made so many friends, but the guys at Caterham, they said you will never win this race on the first few laps. So just bide your time. That went in that ear through my tiny little brain and out the other ear. Because you're right. I was all over the guy that won it. Called Jeff Newman, who no doubt we'll see his name quite a lot in future races as well. All over him, felt so confident, felt like I had so much pace. I stupidly, I don't know whether this had anything to do with it, probably not, but I changed my front brake pads the afternoon before, and I left the backs as they were. I'm sure it had nothing to do with it. And I think the biggest problem was I was going into the hairpin, really showing him that I was there. And you got to use a bit of engine braking, obviously. And it goes without saying, particularly in a little Caterham. And I fluffed my gear as well, which didn't help. So I was only relying on the brakes. So I overcooked the brakes and I wasn't in gear. So that, it was like, sadly, it was a good night. But I was very, I was so disappointed. I could feel little tears coming down my eyes because I knew you were there, you were watching, and you came up to support me, which was amazing having you there, Tiff. It was amazing.
We'll be seen on a future Lovecars show. We've got the whole story coming up on Lovecars soon.
Okay, so I won't say much more there. Yes, it will be on the main Lovecars YouTube channel, and please watch it and just let us know your comments below, because Tiff was the roving reporter. He was the Martin Brundle of the Caterham Academy of the pit lanes and all sorts. But Tiff, honestly,
sadly, no cameras everywhere. But somewhat a spectator caught your moment of glory, I understand, which you'll see on the Lovecars story.
Yeah,
but the racing, you're going to have such a fun year. I mean, the five up front that you should have been with. I mean, you almost got back to the leading bunch of five. You got so involved in your battle for sixth that you couldn't quite catch the front five. But they were just side by side and nose to tail the whole race, and you're going to be in that bunch. And of course, now you're in a green group. They split the 50 cars into two. You're in the 25-car green group. Although in one race, you're all back together, 50 cars at Silverstone. How did the white group? They had a wet race, the white group that followed late in the afternoon.
I felt sorry for those guys. So just very quickly, the green group results: Jeff Newman, Chris Fraser came second, who was the pole position, and then Mark Vin Jones, who's the Caterham entry. Because they do a ballot every year and somebody from Caterham goes in. I was so pleased with Mark. He's a lovely guy. He qualified 8th and finished 3rd, so I was very pleased with him. And in the white group, God, they had some bad luck. The heavens opened for them. I felt so bad for them, but it was William James won that. Charlie Lower came in 2nd, and Benja Headley, I think his last name is Benja Headley. He's a lovely guy as well. Came in 3rd place. My little tip: Harry George didn't quite get there on that one, but I'm sure he'll get on the podium soon. But it was brilliant to watch them as well. Completely different race to us, but the whole thing was amazing, and it was very special having you there. Thanks for coming to watch.
Pleasure. You made me proud. I was there. I was emotionally involved.
It was brilliant going into Parc Fermé afterwards. It was amazing seeing everybody, but I felt really quite bad because everybody was so happy and so cheerful and big smiles on their face, and all I kept saying was, am I allowed to say this on a podcast? BOLLOCKS. BOLLO.
It could have been me.
Yeah,
it could have been me.
That was all I was. But I still I had a big smile on my face as well. So please watch the video. It's a lot of fun, and there was quite a bit of very interesting overtaking over those period of time because it's so close. There's so many good drivers in the white group and the green group. There's everybody's so equal in this. It's amazing.
Where are you next? Is it next? Where's next up? How long do you have to wait to make amends?
Only a couple of weeks, then we're to Knock Hill in Scotland. So a couple of weeks we'll be up there. So I'm
wonderful.
None of us can wait for it. We're all on a group chat together, and I encourage you, if you want to get into motor racing, try this. If you're in the UK, it is absolutely brilliant. People are sharing stories, and I'm sorry about knocking your wing off. I got a little bit close here. It's absolutely brilliant, sharing bits of in-car footage of people going off. But anyway, enough of that. Watch the video, please, probably on Friday, and we'll take a trip over to the Indy qualifying over the pond, which was quite exciting with Scotland taking pole position.
From one of the slowest type of race cars to the fastest race cars. Indy qualifying, I mean, it's a whole weekend of drama. Again, the Americans do drama so much better than we do with either NASCAR or IndyCar. And it was just a qualifying weekend. Saturday they did the all 35 ran, and the top 9 would go into the fastest 9, and the bottom 5 had to go to the slowest 5. So there's drama at the front, drama at the back. Scott Dixon, the 6-time 40-year-old, 6-time champion 40-year-old, sort out the young guns. This year's been a young guns. They've been winning, and Colton Herter, who's won, and so has Rinus VeeKo's won. They came second and third on the grid in this fast 9. And you look at the times. I mean, Scott Dixon took pole at 231.685 miles an hour average for 4 laps.
It's crazy. It's hard to.
Herter was second. He was 231.655 instead of 0.685, and Rinus VeeKo 231.551. And it was just so dramatic as it built up. VeeKo had a little bit of a wobble at 230 miles an hour. The drivers that know what he did just can't believe he got away with it, because the day before, it's Palou, isn't it? Alex Palou, who won at Indy, another young gun, the Spanish young gun. He was going out to try and improve his time on Saturday afternoon. He had one of these little wobbles and just ended up smearing the side of his car at 230 miles an hour into the unforgiving walls at Indy. And they rebuilt his car overnight, and he came out in the fast 9. I think he's qualified about 7th for the race. But just a drama at the front. But that's preceded by the drama at the back. Because when you had the 6-time champion, up the front, you had the 2014 champion, Will Power, in the 5 slowest cars on Saturday, having to go out to be one of the 3 fastest out of 5, what they call a bump session, bump day. So, Power's out there, and he qualified he scraped in 32nd at only 228.353 miles an hour.
That's embarrassing. So he should be embarrassed with those sort of speeds.
Yeah, but amazing. He did that time coming out of turn 4 or was it turn 3? I don't know which turn it was on, but turn 4. He scraped the wall. He actually hit the wall with the rear tire. Was that safer barrier wall, which does give a bit when you hit it? And he just kept his foot in, just finished the 4 laps in order to qualify. So he's 32nd on the grid. Well, Simona Silvestro, a good one for the ladies, managed to scrape and got the last spot on the grid, so beat 2 guys in the slow 5 to make it to the start next weekend. They've got this Peretta Autosport team, and they're trying to get as many women running, engineers, mechanics, the tyre stops. They're hoping to run the female crew. They've still got some men in there also trying to keep the speed up. So a fantastic story there. So the greatest story at the pole, and equally great story at the back, with Simona getting onto the grid in the last spot. So much drama. And of course, next weekend is the race itself, the big 500, where there's going to be more overtaking than 10 seasons of Formula One. So I do love watching it. I mean, you know, again, it's pedestrian. Sometimes in the middle, they'll go all, you know, single file for maybe, you know, 40 laps, and then it all starts kicking off. And so yeah,
they do
drama.
milk it a little bit over there, don't they? They milk it a little bit, and you know, get some ad breaks in, a bit of advertising here and there, drinking a bit of Pepsi and Coca-Cola. But I
always love when they, you know, in for they don't come in to refuel. They come in for a new tank of Sunoco premium fuel. The commentators are even using the train names. A new set of Goodyears and Firestones.
Very good.
But no, I love it. It's just a huge build-up, the whole of May, you know, Indianapolis.
Yeah, very exciting. Let's pop back over to UK, because British GT this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, good weekend. British Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, always dramatic, always great to go and watch. Lamborghini came out on top with what was Aston Martin second, another Lamborghini third, then two Mercs. It all covered by 16 seconds after 2 hours of racing and plenty of drama.
That's
bit of nudging and nerfing.
That really is
fantastic. Go and
really
watch. People watch BTCC, but I mean, I think you'll get an equal fun taking a day out and going and watching a British GT weekend.
Well, I got a small confession to make. I shouldn't say this, but because I've got so much work to do. But I've got Caterham have invited me to Brands Hatch tomorrow with a driver coach. They obviously felt sorry for me over the weekend, so I'm off to Brands, but only on the Indy circuit tomorrow. But I'm still looking forward to that. That'd be good fun. So that was good. Yeah, I agree. Good to see Lambo. I didn't realize their 16 seconds was
top 5, close stuff. 2 driver racing. They would drive a pit stop and stuff. Then of course NASCAR, which kept me up until about 3 o'clock this morning.
You're mad.
NASCAR. Well, it was such good racing. I mean, again, just the heavens opened after 2 laps. And you know, this was the Texas Grand Prix at the Circuit of Americas, of course, where Formula One cars go. But I mean, these big muscle cars, you know, 40 cars on the grid trying to get round soaking wet aquaplane circuit.
Big old rainstorm, wasn't it?
But they ended up with this spray on the straight, just hitting each other. Big shunts, flat out 150 miles an hour on the main straight, which just got more and more water on it. And part of the problem was, of course, they don't have any lights, NASCARs. They've got no rear lights, no brake lights. So they put a rain light, but they put it in the back windscreen. So there's still about 3 feet of car behind where the lights sort of beginning to flash in the gloom. But we had this huge sump where Cole Custer and Martin Truex had already been to the back of someone else on the straight. And he was probably down to about 100 miles an hour. Cole Custer came down the inside, still doing about 150, and just slammed into the back of Truex. He lifted it. He almost went under Truex and then went off to the side and hit the barrier again. And the whole front caught on fire with the oil going. And, you know, he gets out, they all walk away from it. But they then went out with the sweepers and red flagged the race for a while, and they luckily had their sort of oval water clearers, and they cleared all the water off the main straight. But the battling going on throughout the whole field was epic, and Kyle Larson, Needell, the number 5, was catching the lead towards the end. But Elliott won again. So it got red flagged right at the end because the rain came and the aquaplaning came back on the main straight. But if you get to see it, if you look at the highlights, there was the most amazing scene I've almost seen. Kurt Busch locked up well before the braking zone, well, probably as he started braking at the end of the main straight. And he went between his brother. He was heading straight for his brother's rear boot. His brother moved an inch. There's another car on his right. And he just almost hit both cars and just sailed straight on, all locked up into the gravel trap.
I had to take one for the team on Friday, did the same thing. It was wet on final testing on Friday. And I had to take one for the team. I started braking. I was never going to get round Gerrard's, which is the longest corner in, I think, the UK, might even be the world, 156 meters. And I just gunned it straight on. So I know how he feels. Not quite as fast, but next week they're back on an oval. They're back. They're going to Charlotte.
Yeah, back on their ovals. Congratulations to Chase Elliott. But we know, having red flag, the number 5 lovers, Kyle would have caught you. He never had the chance, or maybe he would have crashed.
What else?
They're back on the ovals.
Yeah, next week we got MotoGP.
Two of the best track racing. There'll be so much overtaking. If you watch the Indy 500 and the whole day of MotoGP from Mugello, the most scenic circuit, and Mugello Moto3, the kids coming down that straight 10 abreast into that great overtaking spot at the end. So there's going to be a wonderful entertainment if you watch MotoGP from Mugello or IndyCar from Indianapolis.
Or
Extreme
E.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I forgot that. I should have put that first, really. The highlight of the weekend.
The Ocean Grand Prix. The Ocean Grand Prix.
Yes.
Does that mean it's on water?
Well, I thought that at first. I thought, well, how are they going to race in the ocean?
On sand.
Well, it's at Dakar. We've already seen a lot of people, where they raced, followed each other in a dust cloud. We'd already seen that. It's where the Dakar cars go. And on the new Saudi Arabia course. But of course, the old days when Dakar used to be in Africa and go across to Dakar, they're just racing up that beach and they're turning off the beach into sand dunes, which are sandy again.
Let's definitely don't knock it. Let's watch it and let's
all right.
it next week. We'll look forward to
I'm not sure I'll have time to watch it, to be honest. If I've got MotoGP on all day and then the Indy 500, I'll have to fast forward through the... Of course, they're on Saturday, of course, so you can watch it on Saturday when nothing else is on. So give it a go. Give Extreme E a go. The boss thinks it's the most spectacular sport ever invented and it's the future. And I'm sure you'll see superstars clearing the beach of rubbish and then getting back in their V8 SUVs to go back to their wherever they're going to live.
Time to go.
Okay, sorry. I won't go. No, all right. I'm sorry.
Watch it. Let's watch
Formula E. I said Formula E was getting better. It suited Monaco. That was good racing. I'm not yet as happy with the progress of Extreme.
We should watch something that you are wax lyrical about in terms of motor racing, in terms of electric cars, which is electric rallycross, which is live on our YouTube channel. So if anyone stayed to the end of this podcast, thank you very much. Check out Tiff Nadell, if you haven't seen it already, in a electric rallycross car, which is
the formula where electricity works, because you can be flat out for a 4-lap race and it's as quick as the petrol engine cars.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.
Cheers all.